Good evening, and here are today's Tropics for October 9th, 2019. Please note I'm not a meteorologist, and this video is just a collection of my thoughts and opinions about the storms I'm talking about. And for any decision making, please consult the National Hurricane Center, your local officials, or your National Weather Service office. So today I'm looking at Invest 91L, Invest 92L, and Super Typhoon Hagibis. So looking at Invest 91L first, as you can see, it's not doing so well here. Here's the low level center right about here, but here's the upper level low, which was earlier coupled to the low level. It's down over here now, and this low level low is moving out to the west-northwest, while this upper low is moving more to the southwest. So they're decoupled now, and they're continuing to become more and more decoupled. This is very bad for the survival of this low level center here, as now it is getting caught in some northerly shear, and you can see it's already producing pretty much no convection. So this in turn with more shear is not going to help this. It's very unlikely it's going to be anything at this point. If we look at the vapor imagery here, you can see here's that upper low. It's spinning here and diving to the southwest. You see the low level center here because there is no convection. So yeah, this channel doesn't really see the low level low per se, but it's out around here-ish. So this is out in that drier air. So not only is it in strong shear, it's also experiencing a lot of dry air, which then means even moisten its own column really with convection, as it either collapses due to dry air, and if it manages to get past that, then the shear will infect that dry air into the circulation. So yeah, there's a lot against any convection form. So there's not really going to be much coming out of this. I think the low level low is about as strong as it will get, and it just doesn't have a chance at this point to become a tropical or subtropical cyclone. There's too much against it at this point. Now looking at Invest 92L, it's kind of a similar story. It did have a chance earlier when it did have a more well-defined low-level center, and there was some convection in the area, but the southwesterly shear was too much for it to really recognize. And on the infrared imagery that I looked at earlier, I couldn't really find any low-level center at all. It's possible there might be a tiny thing in here, but I didn't really see any strong indication of a center. So that means, yeah, it has to form a full center and also not be really sheared a lot by this southwesterly shear that, as you can see, is really ruling this area. So again, like Invest 91L, this one doesn't really have a chance of forming. Its time in favorable conditions has passed, so we probably won't see much with this before it merges with this system north, which does appear to have a more well-defined circulation on the infrared imagery. Could see some northerlies sinking down to the south here. It's probable that there is some kind of low around this area under a bit of this convection. So right now it's pushing a lot of strong easterly wind and onshore flow into the northeastern United States coast. So it's causing possibly a bit of flooding, just as you get this water being pushed into the coastal region by the easterly winds, and they can't really go anywhere else but into that coastal area. The actual low that's causing this isn't actually that strong. It's only just below 1,000 millibars. So usually you don't see winds over 50 knots like this. It is at 850 millibars, so it isn't quite high as at the surface. But you still don't really see winds like this in lows this week. However, there is a ridge to the north. This is also in a similar position to mid-level ridge, which is kind of keeping this low trapped in this region and kind of stalling it out. So it also extends to the surface, as you can see. And the difference between the high pressure here and the low pressure with this low here causes an enhanced pressure gradient for this type of low, which means if there's an enhanced pressure gradient, you're going to have enhanced winds, which is exactly what's happening. So yeah, you are getting a lot of that easterly wind into the coast, which could cause, again, some possible flooding, as the wind pushes that water into somewhere it can't really get out of. This is about tomorrow evening, so this is likely to continue for quite a while, as it's already beginning, and it doesn't really end until you start kind of having this low move a bit south, which kind of relieves the pressure, especially as the ridge moves away. So the winds kind of shift more northeasterly and become weaker, and this low moves to the south a bit before it kind of turns a bit more to the north as it gets caught with the trough that is really feeling this low coming into the Great Lakes region by Saturday morning. So it's likely that there's going to be a lot of wind, strong wind, and some rain associated with this system over the next few days, but it looks like it will start clearing out towards the weekend. Looking at Super Typhoon Hagibis, you can see that the eye today and yesterday has become really well defined and large, unlike yesterday where it was relatively defined but it was really tiny. There's an eye wall replacement cycle that really allowed this to clear out, and it's continuing to be extremely strong typhoon. It's a Category 5 equivalent to the hurricane scale that's used in the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific. It's also a bit east of forecasts, as it was supposed to continue about west-northwest, but as you can see, it hasn't quite been that. There was a bulge a bit to the north and a bit to the east. So, but you can see that it is starting to turn a bit more to the west as the eye is. Well, you can see with this line, even the midpoint of the eye about got to this line, but now it's the eastern edge, so it is turning a bit to the west. So we'll have to see if it does kind of get closer to the official forecast, and then we can see the impacts on Japan, because there is a possibility that there are impacts. Looking at the GFS, this is Saturday afternoon in Eastern time. This would be like Sunday if you're in Japan. So it has a kind of a hit near the Tokyo region. This is a few hours afterwards, so it's moved up north because it's moving at high speed. It's getting caught up by a trough, as you can see even here. It's moving north at a good clip. It is kind of in tune with the official Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast, that it will kind of scrape the eastern part of the island as it heads out to sea otherwise. And you can see these are gusts at the surface, given it's 850 millibar wind. But you can see the very strong gusts nonetheless, over 100 knots. So it's likely, if it does get really close to Japan, you'll see a lot of wind impacts and rain from this storm. And depending on how far west or east it goes, it's possible if that it Hagibis goes more west than forecast, then you'll see some southerly winds associated with the southeast or southwesterly winds associated with the southeastern side of the cyclone, pushing water into the Tokyo Bay, which would cause some surge or a lot more surge and kind of funneling water into here, which would cause flooding. And obviously you don't want flooding, so hopefully it doesn't go more west and instead goes more east, which means you have offshore flow rather than onshore flow. And if if it meant to pass offshore, then obviously it's less impact. So hopefully maybe this can continue for a bit and these forecasts are too far west. However, currently on the latest forecast from the Joint Typhoon Weather Warning Center, so this is the official agency in the West Pacific, it is expected to head west-northwest and then curve after passing about 30 degrees north and then scrape the Tokyo region. It has it going right over the Tokyo Bay. Of course, you can see this is kind of like, or of course, given it's a few days out, it can diverge from this forecast, can go east, can go west. But you can also see on here that it's got a bit more north rather than the west, than the north-northwest. So again, hopefully this continues and we don't see a lot of these impacts, which would happen if this track forecast verifies, because you can see here there would be some typhoon force winds coming into this region. And given that Japan has been hit by a lot of typhoons and tropical cyclones in the past 2 years, we don't really want to see more impacts from additional storms. So we'll have to see how this track goes. If it does bend back to the west-northwest, which may be occurring given satellite loops, then this forecast could still verify. But if in the best case scenario it doesn't really turn like that and instead curves further offshore and means less impacts for the Japan region. Otherwise, there isn't too much going on in the global tropics. So that's about it for tonight. If you have any feedback, I'd appreciate to hear it, and thanks for watching.